let's carry on with this DeFi conversation real quick. I know y'all know who this is. Stani from Aave, right? The biggest DeFi protocol in all of crypto. Right? They're the biggest DeFi protocol in all of crypto. Okay.
Yeah, biggest borrowing and lending. As a matter of fact, it's the biggest borrowing and lending in the entire planet, apparently. So.
Yeah, that's my dog. Slide.
That's my dog. Listen to what he says about how DeFi has been stress tested, it's battle tested, and it is more resilient now than traditional finance. This to me, because we've been telling people this, since 2024. Me, you, and Kev, bro, we've been on this wave of telling people everything's going to roll over to DeFi rails, and everybody's going to get on the wave of lending their assets out, borrowing against them, not selling their crypto, looping, earning yield. This to me is verbal confirmation of what we've been saying. And the fact that he has the audacity at this digital asset summit, which was a TradFi summit, like literally everybody there was from TradFi, and he says, DeFi is better than TradFi or more resilient than TradFi, speaks loudly. So just take a second and listen to this one.
The opportunity of being able to reallocate the capital quite quickly because the markets move and change. And a lot of DeFi yield and also crypto yield is largely still based on the opportunity that exists in DeFi, in crypto, which is leverage. So when there's a lot of demand on leverage and there's a positive correlation on the market, that increases the funding rates for traders and also the borrowing costs for borrowers and the yield in DeFi as well. And this is sort of like 95% of the DeFi space. And I think this is actually really a good thing because being able to take something like these DeFi protocols and battle test them with a really volatile asset class has been really amazing because it also showcases that DeFi protocols are actually the most resilient infrastructure. So for example, a couple of months ago in a market downturn, Aave liquidated almost $500 million worth of collateral. October the 10th, we liquidated over $250 million worth of collateral in just a few minutes. Programmatically automated, fully in a transparent fashion. That is something that the existing financial system doesn't have at the same sort of like transparency and also ability to participate in those liquidation options. But I do think that with this, with RWAs coming more on chain and seeing like a model of Athena where you can basically construct a strategy and bring it on chain, and then being able to actually leverage that by using the Aave's liquidity is sort of a way to bring more assets and reduce the exposure for the overall the crypto leverage and getting more yield from the diversified sources.
So, what he just said is crazy because he just said that traditional finance does not have the ability to do what DeFi did on the October 10th stress test. And by the way, a lot of people don't know that was a stress test. It was systemically planned for that to happen. And everything that's happening right now in crypto is all planned to stress test this environment before these institutions come in. And he just said it. It was a stress test. And DeFi remained compatible. DeFi remained resilient. And it did something that TradFi does not have the capability to do. Go ahead, Aqua. You're about to unmute.
Yeah, I feel like the key thing is he says it would prove that it's the most resilient. And I feel like if that aligns with all these institutions, with all these trillions of dollars, that's just great news to hear. You know what I mean? So
you put this out on your Twitter, I think, or maybe it wasn't your I don't remember where it was that you put it out, but if you want to read this real quick.
Yeah, I reposted it. That was Senator Loomis. She said, "Don't believe the FUD. We have worked on a bipartisan basis for the last few weeks to make changes. Title III that make this bill the strongest protection for DeFi and developers ever enacted. We have to pass the Clarity Act to get these protections." So, and I rock with that, bro. I'm gonna believe her. You know what I'm saying? Until otherwise, like.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of fun.
a bipartisan basis with both Democrats and Republicans working together, you know, for protection for DeFi is something massive that when this space gets that, like if there was insurance for DeFi, which I mean, I know for some exchanges and some platforms there is, but as a whole, holy crap, the amount of money that's going to come into DeFi rails is going to be insanity.
Yeah, it will be true insanity, bro. It will be, because there would be just, yeah, they would. Some people wouldn't even need to know all that because they just see so much money coming in at DeFi and hearing it from this person and that person, and they would just flood in.
This was a good post a couple hours ago from Credora by Redstone. They said the question institutional allocators ask about DeFi is not whether the yields are attractive. The question is whether there is a risk framework that they can document and defend. And so, considering what Stani from Aave said, what Senator Loomis is saying, this just goes to show that you know that TradFi understands that DeFi is maturing, and if you don't, now's the time to lock in, to tap in, to learn DeFi, to learn how to get your digital assets working for you, to take a mentorship or a course or something that breaks it down for you so you're at least aware of the possibilities. So that way, when you're comfortable, you can deploy and you're not falling behind. Especially if you have a very considerable amount of crypto. You know, you don't want it to just be sitting idle collecting dust, especially like think about this bear market or market downturn, whatever you want to call it that we're in. Who are the people that are going to come out on top? They're going to be the people that accumulate more block space in this game right now, just from the market's money, you know, earning passive income with their assets and compounding it every single day. I know I for a fact am going to have more, you know, actual physical tokens of the crypto assets that I like to hold in my portfolio because every single day that we've been in this downturn since October, I've been earning yield on at least, I'd say 60% of my crypto portfolio right now. And I'm just compounding it every day, restacking it more and more.
Facts, bro. Facts. Shout out to the Metallicus ecosystem.
Shout out to the Metallicas. Literally, if you hold the ISO tokens right now and they're not earning for you in this downturn, you know, you got a BSA compliant platform, the only BSA compliant platform in the world. You know, everybody wants regulatory clarity on their DeFi protocols. You got one. And even though it's not like a substantiating amount of yield, something's better than nothing. You know, take advantage of that, not financial advice. But this says, until now, the largest liquid staking asset in crypto had no independent quantified risk assessment. STETH represents over $20 billion in staked ETH. It is the most widely integrated asset in DeFi lending markets, and only the risk data available was raw market metrics, price history, TVL, and audit count. Raw data is useful. Standardized probability of default derives from the data that is actionable. Credora has published an independent risk rating for STETH, and it got an A+ rating with a probability of default of only 0.10% annually. The assessment covers smart contract security, on-chain reserve transparency, price stability, market position, and governance architecture. Every input is public. The methodology is documented. A 0.10% PD on a $21 billion asset is a number a risk committee can evaluate. It can be compared against other positions. It can support an allocation decision at institutional scale. So, you know, I thought that this was great to see because this just came out, you know, just a couple of days ago on March 17th. So just another thing that just shows the maturation of the DeFi ecosystem, that now we're starting to see these ratings that these institutions never had before. So now they can literally just go, they can look at the rating and they can say, okay, what's the risk rating? Oh, 0.10%. Well, we're allowed, you know, 2 to 5% risk. Great. We can allocate to this. Boom. You know, they don't have to do any of these crazy back-end checks. They have the trusted rating right here. They can pull it up, talk to their risk assessments, you know, team, and then start to allocate. And so this is just something in crypto that we have never had before. And it just goes to show there should be no reason why you're skeptical outside of doing your due diligence on the platforms that you're deploying on, but just understanding that the DeFi space is maturing and that these institutions are preparing with announcements like this to enter in at full scale. Huge. So I thought Kev would like that one. I pulled that one up real quick.